as ever, I'm going to commence by apologising for my appearance. I mean, I don't know why I bother, because, take me as I am. So it's Sunday afternoon. I actually have two films to talk about, but I'm going to do one now, and it's the one I've just been to see. It is a brand new British film, released just this weekend, and it is called Military Wives. It is the very epitome of a Sunday afternoon film. Based on a true story, it is, as you can probably imagine from the title, about military wives. But it's about so much more than that. It's about how these incredible women support each other and look after each other while their husbands, and in some cases wives, are off in foreign countries offering protection, serving their country. This is in particular, this film is set when there were British soldiers deployed to Afghanistan, and the women are left behind. And this film is about what they do to cope, what they do to survive. As I said, it is based on a true story about a choir that was formed by a group on Flitcroft Base. You might be thinking about the Gareth Malone choir that went on to have a #1, but actually this predates that. These women were the first. They were the first ones to form a choir, and it's about what it gives them: confidence, solidarity, sisterhood. This is a terrible pun, but it is basically pitch perfect. It's incredibly well cast. The two leads, you've got the Colonel's wife, which is Kristen Scott Thomas, who is at her very stuffy, British, plummy, keep calm and carry on best. Opposite her is the wonderful Sharon Horgan, who is new to the role of... her husband's just been promoted, so that has then increased her status at the base, so she has to take more responsibility for the wives. Really, Kristen Scott Thomas's Kate, the Colonel's wife, shouldn't really have a lot to do with the looking after of the wives. However, she's looking for a distraction because you find out quite early on that she has lost her own son in military service. So her husband, the Colonel, is still alive, but her son, Jamie, is not. It won't surprise you to hear that this film made me cry quite a lot, which is another reason I look like a bag o' shite. But yeah, it's unashamed, it's emotional, it really wears its heart on its sleeve. It's very British, so it manages not to be schmaltzy. It deals with very real things. Now, my dad was a Royal Navy reservist, so was my mum, but I can't pretend for a second to understand what it must be like to be a military wife, a military daughter, to say goodbye to those people that you love most in the world and not know if they're going to come back. And there's talk in the film among the wives of waiting for that phone call, waiting for the letter, waiting for the doorbell to go, and just knowing that it's the news you don't want. And yeah, that made me quite emotional, and it's not a position I've ever been in or I am ever likely to be in unless I marry myself a soldier in the next couple of years. Seems unlikely. So yeah, it's just putting yourself in their shoes and thinking, how would I deal with that? Also because it deals with the loss of a child, although he was an adult when obviously they lost him because he was in service. But that's something no mother ever wants to think about. So yeah, it packs a real emotional punch. It's also very warm and very funny. It's directed by the same chap who directed The Full Monty, and it definitely shares themes and parallels with that. What do you do in the face of adversity? What do you do when you need a distraction? Either you take your clothes off or you form a choir, or you make a calendar. It's very much in that vein. So if you enjoyed things like Calendar Girls and The Full Monty, I saw a film at the beginning of last year called Fisherman's Friends about a choir of Cornish fishermen, which was wonderful. It's very much in that mould. I think what elevates it and makes it really special is those two central performances of Sharon Horgan and Kristen Scott Thomas, because they're so opposite, and it's a really lovely thing to watch their relationship develop. They did their own singing, so there are some cracking voices in the choir, particularly, I don't know the actress's name, but the little Welsh one has a lovely voice. And yeah, it's just an absolute joy. It's exactly what I expected it to be. Punch me right in the feels. Had a lovely little cry. They do some great songs. As the choir, they're not all whereas Kate would have them doing all hymns and all that sort of lark there. Lisa's much more set on them doing 80s classics, because that's obviously the era she grew up in. It is an absolute delight. It's one that you can take your family along to. You can take your mum for Mother's Day. I love when the cinema's full of people who don't normally go to the cinema, because you can just see like little fluffy white candy floss heads all over the cinema. The people who go like once every couple of years. But yeah, it's absolutely delightful. I would definitely recommend it. A lovely, lovely film that everyone should see. Heartwarming, uplifting, emotional, joyous. I can't fault it. Cracking. Katie out.